how to use their speed, but also use it and slow down and things of that nature as well.
In high school, she was just always able to use her quickness to get by anybody at any time. And then when you get to the next level and playing against the competition and talent that she was going to have to compete against, she's learned that you just can't play at one speed. You can't play 100 miles an hour all the time because you are going to face other players that are as quick as you. So she's learned when to slow up, when to speed up. Her court vision has gotten so much better over the past 4 years. Her ability to see her teammates, to see when a trap is coming, when people are running two people at her at one time. All of those things come with growth, come with experience, come with film work. And she has dedicated herself to all of those things. She wanted to be great. We sat down as a freshman and we went through what her goals were. This is what I want to do. And with that comes a lot of, okay, if that's what you want, here's what you have to do. And she has met all of those things. She spends extra time in the gym. She works on her shot. She works on her left and right hand finishes. So everything that she's needed to do, she's put the time in the gym to succeed.
Jeff, hey, it's Jody Demling. When we, to go back as we here on her senior day, when we had Asia's senior day, you talked the day before about having 4 players who were kind of once in a lifetime type of players, and that's what you needed to do to continue to build the program, is to continue to get players like that. We're at 5 now. Can you just kind of put in perspective where, I know you don't like to compare players, but Dana's right there with Angel, Shoni, Maisha, and Asia, is she not?
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, you just look at the success that we've had as she's been a part of the program. And that's what's fun about it, and that's what's exciting to see is just look at her growth from her freshman year to her senior year, and that is the biggest challenge for all these players. So social media right now is the worst thing out there, because all these sites blow these kids up, and they, you're the next best thing since sliced bread, there's no wrong that you can do. And then instead of even with the freshman class right now in women's college basketball, instead of embracing all the great freshmen that we have, they all, social media wants to pit them all against each other. Even Ryan Howard, Dana Evans, the ones that are up for Player of the Year, I'm celebrating all the great players we have in women's basketball that are seniors. Instead of trying to pit them all against each other, let's look at how fortunate we are that we're able to have games on ESPN that are being viewed by more people now than they ever have been. And that's because the players are getting better. The better quality that we put out on the floor, the more just basketball fans are going to watch. And that's one of the things that I continue to talk about, is just embrace what we have. And for Dana, she's different than Asia. She's different than Shoni. She's different than Maisha. All of them have been different. I can go back to Angel when everybody asked me, how are you going to replace Angel? We're not. We just got to find the next best one. And for us at that point in time, it was Shoni. So we're not going to have the next Dana. It's going to be the next one of our players here that continue to evolve, and it's going to be them. It's going to be someone that you're not going to be able to say she's just like this player, because I don't think of those 5, Jody, that you've named, that any of them look just like each other on the basketball floor, how they play. They're all special in their own way.
As a follow-up real quick, has Dana improved? I'm not talking about just those 5, but all your players. Yeah. Has she maybe improved more from her freshman year? 22% from 3. She was making turnovers. till now than anybody that you've really had here?
I would say it's close. It's really, really close to the improvement that she's made. Another one that I can tell you that she played with was Erica Carter. Erica, I mean, I basically was willing to buy her a plane ticket after her freshman year to go home. I was like, AC, it's a one-way plane ticket, and she's like, I'm not leaving. She made significant growth also. Now, it might not be seen on the national side, because Dana's going from 5 points a game to being a contender for National Player of the Year. But her and AC probably are the two that I can say from freshman year to senior year have made the biggest jump.
Jeff, if you can go back to Dana's freshman year, and I guess she talked about this earlier about being stubborn, and how do you look at that trajectory from being stubborn to steely, if you will, especially these last 5 or 6 games?
She's still stubborn. It ain't changed. No, she's still stubborn, Gary. Now, you know what? It's been great. She just dropped off, and I mean the maturity that she has grown with from her freshman year to now. It's been pretty remarkable. She just dropped off the probably one of the nicest notes that I've gotten in my 14 years here from a player. Just talking about her freshman year to her senior year, and how we were a pain in each other's butt there for a while. I wanted to get the most out of her, and she was trying to get me to change, and we butted heads. But that's what makes her great, though. Every great one has a will about them that you're not just going to change them overnight. You've got to work it. You've got to take your time and be patient. And it's not like we've changed Dana. What we've tried to do is help her grow. We've tried to help her see the game from a different lens. Instead of just from the player side of it, we've gotten her to study the game and see it from a coach's side. See it from a side of, instead of just looking at what you do great, what you need to work on, what do we need to get better at as a team? And, for the 4 years that she's been here, she sacrificed. Her sophomore year, she easily could have started for us. She had earned a starting spot. She started our first few games. But that wasn't what was best for our team. Having AC start and then bring Dana off the bench to change a tempo, bring a defensive presence into the game off the bench is what was best for our team. And it takes some courage, and it takes someone who's willing to put your own goals aside to what's best for the team. And it took a little bit of sitting down and talking to her and explaining and sitting some more and talking some more to where she finally was like, okay, I'm in. And she did it, and we go to a Final Four that year, and she was a huge part of it.
As a coach, how much maybe did you learn how to understand what she was saying, maybe based on your experience, with Angel and Shoni and Aisha and Maisha?
Now, I mean, hey, they're all different in their own way. Great players are going to be passionate. Great players are going to have a strong will about them. She is right there with all of them. The one thing I take a lot of pride in as a coach is I don't get hung up on if she doesn't agree with something that I'm talking about. Her and I can go back and forth. It might even be during a timeout. It doesn't upset me. I don't carry it with me after a game. And she knows that. And she's the same way at this point in time. I can get on her about something, and she's not going to carry it with her for the next 3 days. It's part of the game. Passion is part of it from players and coaches. And that's what we really talk about here as a program is don't always listen to how things are said. Listen to the message that's being sent. And our players, and Dana especially, have done a great job of that.
Yeah, but I guess the other part is, how has that helped you evolve as a coach when you look at that line of players that you had? So the next one that comes along, you can say, well, this is how I handle it with them. They're different, but how do I take that and apply it to this particular player?
Oh, sure. I mean, Gary, I'm not trying to change. I tell kids all the time. I tell recruits all the time. I'm not going to recruit you and watch you play in high school and then change your entire game. I think that's the biggest mistake that coaches make. It's like when Shoney was here, everybody was like, man, she's got to stop taking bad shots or you'll never, and I'm like, well, you know what? If you take a bad shot away from Shoney, you're going to also take the flair and the spectacular shot she's going to be able to make. And Dana's the same way. You don't want your best player looking over their shoulder, trying to figure out, is this a good shot? Is this a bad shot? What we do throughout their growth from freshman to senior year is we're showing them shot selection, time and score during a game. So I've been able to help all of them, I think, grow in the terms of what's a good shot, what's a bad shot. Now, does it eliminate all of them? No. But it has helped me being able to show this to recruits and the next one that comes along of, hey, I'm going to let you play, but you're going to learn how to play within a structure, but you're also going to have your freedom because that's what makes them great.
Jeff, when it comes to being able to coach a player like, Dana or all your kids, how much is trust a factor, that they trust you and then they're like, you know what, he wants the best for me, so this is, that's when you build that relationship and that starts to happen? Well,
trust is something that occurs over time, but it's not just on the basketball court. I take a great deal of pride of building relationships with all of our players. I tell their parents all the time that I treat them like they're my own kids. And we're there for them through the good and the bad. And I promise you, they don't always like me all the time. My own kids don't like me all the time. We have to discipline at times. And it's the same thing that we have to do here. But once they know you generally care about them and love them as people, that's when they'll start to listen to you more and believe in what you're trying to teach them. I told our kids the other day, with a few of the teams that we've had that have gone on to, compete for Final Fours, Elite Eights, if I told them on the jump ball, if we win the tip, just throw it to the other team, they would do it. Now, they might think it's the dumbest thing ever, but they would do it because they trusted me. And that's where we're trying to get to with this team right now, because we do have a lot of youth in its own way. Dana and Mikasa are the only two that have played in postseason play, NCAA tournament, significant minutes. So we're ranked top 3, top 4 in the country with kids that have not had those big game experiences. So we're learning as we go.
Jeff, forgive me if this has.
Hello. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, I got bumped off for a while, so you may have already had addressed this, but Dana talked a lot about her work with the sports psychologist and how she's learned to move on from disappointments and obstacles. Have you seen a difference in her obviously over 4 years, but more recently, has that manifested itself?
Yeah, yes, for sure. I've been really impressed. She has invested it in herself, and you can just see it throughout the games. Where you go back to her freshman, sophomore, and part of her junior year, if she missed a shot that she thought that she should have made, she'd wear that for about 2 or 3 possessions, and now she just moves on to the next play. I tell them it's the one thing about our sport, compared to a football game, a baseball game, football, you've got to play. It's going to last 15 to 20 seconds max. And then there's a whistle and you get a regroup. Baseball, it's each pitch. In ours, you turn it over, they're not stopping the game. You've got to switch from offense to defense, and you can't let one bad situation turn into 4 possessions to where now I've got to burn a timeout. And Dana has really grown in that area where you just watch how she plays, watch her facial expressions, watch her demeanor on the floor. It's on to the next play. Even after a great play, you know, she hits a 3, comes up with a steal and a layup. She's right into the next play. And her work with our sports performance coach has done wonders for her.
Did you have a role in steering her to that, or was that something she did on her own?
Well, we actually, Vanessa Shannon, who's our sports performance coach, she comes and meets with our players. We do that a few times a week, and she comes to our practices. She's at our games. So she builds that relationship and that trust. And then as they start to hear her speak to them as a whole of what she's trying to do, then you'll start to see individuals break off. You know, because it's one of those things where at the beginning, is it really cool to go talk to someone about the mental side of the game? You know, and I joke with them all the time. I'm like, lady, she's not going to sit you down on the couch like you see on TV and take a watch in front of you and say you're getting tired. Like, she's just going to give you ways to mentally move on to the next play, how to handle different situations. And especially now with COVID, with what these young women have been able to accomplish and do, it's pretty remarkable, Tim. I mean, I asked my freshmen, I just had one in here the other day. I said, okay, who on campus do you know besides your teammates? The answer is no one. Because they can't. They can't go mingle with the football team, the men's basketball team, which is what they normally do. You know, you get to know the other freshmen in your class, and then you build relationships as you go through college. These kids have been together. And Vanessa has done a wonderful job of giving them techniques and tools to help them as they've gone through this. And Dana is a big part of also keeping our group together and continuing to help us move forward.
Thank you.
Jeff. Late situations, Dana has come through time and time again. Is that, she kind of mentioned talking with Vanessa has helped her, you know, put away a bad play earlier in the game and always be focused. Like her focus late. I mean, she's, you know, you go to Wake Forest, you go to Virginia Tech. I mean, it's just been over and over. Is she maybe in that situation as good as just about any player you've had?
I like to think it's just good coaching. I mean, at least I know whose hands to put the ball in. I mean, I'm at a point, guys, that you don't really need to overthink this. Because the kid makes big plays. She does. There's no question about it. But I thought our Virginia Tech game, she probably made the most growth that I've seen her make during a game as a player, where there was about a minute and a half left in the game, and she had 2 of her. Haley was open once in the corner. I think we're down 1 for a great look and a great 3, and she just missed it. Then she came off a ball screen by Kiana and got doubled. And instead of forcing it, she threw back to Kiana for an open look. And Kiana missed it. It happens. And then the last 2 possessions, you know, I ran stuff for her to keep the ball in her hands. And then she makes back-to-back baskets. But I don't think a year ago she would have even made those passes, which what I tried to explain to her, the reason she was able to get 2 clean drives to the basket late in the game was because she had made those passes. Because in the past, if you don't show that you're going to make them, teams are just going to blitz you, send 2 or 3 at you, and now you got to score over 2 or 3 people. Well, now her court vision and her basketball IQ has improved so much, it's making things easier for her. It's just like our Notre Dame game. You know, we just set a simple single screen up top, and she comes off of it. And, you know, she just knocks down an open shot. Now, you got to be able to make them. And she did that, but because she's been so unselfish, I think she's seeing herself more in situations where it's one-on-one instead of double teams and triple teams coming at her.
Jeff, it's Eric. Is it increasingly rare for a player of her talent and ability to spend a couple years acclimating to a program, playing behind these talented players that you have? I mean, she sat behind Erica willingly and could have scored more if not for Asia. How rare is that?
It's very rare, and part of that is social media. It just is what it is. We are in a time right now where everything has to be done right now. You should be getting this, be getting that, and I just keep telling all of our kids, you have to earn it. You have to earn it, and then there's nothing wrong with learning from someone who might be a little bit better than you, which makes you get better. In the long run, Dana could have gone to some places and started as a freshman and shot it 25 times a game as a freshman. But I don't know if she'd be where she is right now if that was the case. Because she came in here playing with some very talented players who she realized real quick, man, I got to continue to improve my game if I want to get on the floor to play with these other great players. And she embraced that. It's Kiana Smith. It's one of the reasons Kiana Smith came here. As she said in their article, she wanted to invest in herself. So she comes here, she sits out for a year, and that whole summer, her and Jasmine Jones play one-on-one every single day, which helped Jazz's game and it's helped Kiana's game. Good players want to play with other good players. And for Dana, I'm just really excited that she stuck with the process. But Eric, it's very hard to find, because it's like, why aren't you playing more? Why aren't you getting this? Why aren't you getting that? Instead of being supportive of the process. And then, as we always say around here, be ready, because I've been in those situations and watched them where you just complain about not getting to play. And then all of a sudden somebody sprains an ankle, somebody gets sick, and all of a sudden I call on you and you're not prepared to go out there because you've been spending too much time complaining. And then when you get that chance, you make a fool of yourself. So I just keep telling our kids, you got to keep grinding it. And when your time comes, take advantage of it.
Was there something in her makeup or background that enabled her to kind of come through that, that you would pinpoint?
No, well, I just think her fight and the fact that she likes to win, the kid likes to win. So she also knew, like, hey, I'm sitting here getting the opportunity to play with Maisha Hines-Allen, Asia Durr, Sam Fury, and Kylie. I mean, it's just a list of them. And it's hard for any player that we have in this program for the next 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. I don't think anybody's ever going to come close to beating Angel McCoughtry's scoring record. Don't think it's going to happen. And that's because Angel had to drop 20 a night plus for 3 straight years, because that's what had to happen. Well, now, Dana's averaging close to 20, but I've had games where she's had 12 and somebody else has had 25 because we've got that many good players. And that's, I think, for some, they don't like that, so they don't come here. But the ones that want to play with other great players do embrace it. But it's very rare.
Anything else for Coach?
I appreciate everybody. It should be a really, really good game tomorrow. In my opinion, I'm shocked that Georgia Tech's not ranked. They're third in the league. Got great inside outside game. Their post play it's very strong. Their guard play is really gotten better from last year. So I'm expecting a physical game and one that it will not surprise you if it comes down to the wire again.
Yeah. Hey Jeff, one more question. I guess talking about the schedule. I mean, last month you have something like 11 games. Yep. Now it's not even mid-February, and this is your last home game, and you finish on the road. What are the challenges now with trying to close out the season, and especially with some of the uncertainty with how the schedule might go?
Well, it is odd that we're talking about February 11th being our last home game. It would have been our Clemson game, but that game got moved up into January because of COVID, which I appreciate the ACC doing, because we needed to make sure we got games in. Because at that point in time, I think we had 5 games going into Christmas. And then you're just I always tell our kids, you're just waiting to hear, are we going to have a game? All of our tests came back negative from yesterday's test, which clears you for tomorrow's game. So we're excited about that. I have not heard anything from Georgia Tech, so I take that as a good sign. And then we know we're going to be playing tomorrow night. Now, on Sunday at Syracuse, you're still waiting. But I think we are at a point in time, Gary, in the season where I don't think you're going to see many games made up that do get canceled from this point on, just because of available dates. It's one of those where if one of these games gets canceled, trying to find a date that's going to open and be available for 2 teams is not going to be easy. And to be completely honest with you, we're at a point right now where, I'm excited about this bye coming up in a week and a half. We've got Georgia Tech, Syracuse, I believe at Pittsburgh, at Florida State, and then a bye before our last game at Notre Dame. And we need a bye day. I need to be able to give these kids 2 days off in a week to get schoolwork caught back up, just to give them time. So we're excited about that, but we are one game at a time right now. We know that the league championship regular season, it's all in our hands. If we take care of business one game at a time, we can be a part of a ACC regular season championship. But, there's a lot of basketball left.
Thank you, Coach.
I appreciate everybody. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody.